Hey, hello, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to dig into an oh so important topic in the retail automotive space today: employment branding and how to stand out in the eyes of today's highly sought after job seekers. In today's webinar, we're going to spend the next 45 minutes or so understanding current trends in the labor market, really defining what great employment branding entails. And then most importantly, we're going to review some specific examples for you all of what other dealers in the space are currently doing to highlight their own employment brand. I want to make this webinar as conversational and interactive as we can. So just a couple, ground rules, if you will, before we jump in today. First and foremost, if you have a question that pops up based on something you see on the screen, please don't hesitate to pop your question into the Zoom chat. I've got some friends here today with me in Hierology. They'll be able to field those questions, and I will answer them the best I can as we go along. And then additionally, throughout the webinar, you may see a prompt or two to schedule time to see a Hierology demo. Many of you on the webinar today may be already familiar with Hierology. Some of you may even be customers. Thank you all for being here. But if you're not, we'd love to hear from you. So we'll make sure that if you just raise your hand, you click that hand emoji, we'll have a Hierologist reach out to you as soon as possible and get something penciled in on your calendar to learn more about what we actually do as a software company. So with that, let's get started. My name is Mike McSherry. Introduce myself first. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Hierology. I've been in the automotive industry for about a decade, spent the lion's share of that time, almost 7.5 years, here working at Hierology in a variety of roles, most currently managing all of our partnerships ranging from OEMs, third-party software vendors, and so on. And prior to that, I was actually an employment lawyer, if you can believe that, for several years. So I am no stranger to the myriad challenges that businesses, especially you all as retail automotive dealers, face when it comes to attracting and keeping the best talent at your store. One of the first things I always like to do in these webinars is really give a quick overview of today's labor market conditions. I think it's important to have a clear understanding of where we're at as far as what today's job seeker, what are they faced with in their job search, and what are you all faced with as employers, particularly in the automotive sector. And honestly, it feels like there's two conflicting job market narratives. If you open up, your favorite news site today, on the one hand, you have the tech space, which tends to get a majority of the attention. I think we all know that, for better or for worse. And what you've seen there all year is this on and off layoffs, hiring freezes, and that's been, due to a lot of different factors. One, you had overhiring that occurred following the pandemic, and then you just have demand that's cooled for a number of reasons with inflationary pressures, everything that's just going on in the U.S. economy and more broadly in the world. But when you look at other industries that employ essential workers like automotive, it's a different reality. We all know there's been a massive shortage of technicians, not just recently, but going back a number of years now. Some of those things were factors in our control. Some of them were factors not in our control, like just declining numbers of people going to the trade schools out of high school, baby boomers that filled the ranks of fixed ops departments for many years, retiring. So the shortage of qualified workers, it's really hit an inflection point in our industry. And I bet most of you that are on this call today, I'm not telling you anything you already don't know. So that all goes to say that it's more critical than ever that dealerships are finding creative and innovative ways to recruit, hire, and retain those skilled workers, again, particularly in the fixed ops department. Today, we're going to zoom out and talk more broadly on what you need to do to get the upper hand and make your recruitment, your hiring, your retention strategy a competitive advantage. But most particularly today, it's all about at that very top of the funnel, if you will, how your dealership's going to make the best impression possible to make that potentially passive job seeker out on the internet into a real job candidate for a role at your store. So let's dig into some data that's going to put the tech shortage and the labor shortage in general into perspective. So first and foremost, we have the number of graduates competing secondary, post-secondary programs in the automotive sector. It's dropped 20% since 2020. It's also estimated the U.S. is going to need over 4 times more automotive technicians that will actually graduate from some type of trade or technician school in the next 5 years. And to make matters worse, we're going to need more than 100,000 new technicians to join the workforce every year now through 2026 just for the supply of labor to keep up with that increasing demand that I bet all of you have been seeing in your shops over the last several years. So what does all that mean for me? Well, in today's webinar, what we're really going to talk about is just the employment branding and why that's so important for you to not entirely solve your technician shortage crisis that you're facing, or maybe it's another department in the dealership that you're also pressed with talent issues. It's everything. Your employment brand is there to attract every job, full-time, part-time, fixed ops, variable ops, you name it. So the best place to start is a definition of an employment brand. Some of you may be asking yourself, what are you talking about, Mike? So an employment brand is defined as the branding and marketing that exists around your dealership staff employment experience. That means at a time when there is supply and demand imbalance between the number of available qualified workers and the number of open jobs, you have to compete with these other dealerships and really stand out with this branding. You've got to sell the workplace and the career opportunities to every potential candidate. The days of just posting a job on the variety of job boards are over. You have to be intentional in define what that brand is to you and then market that brand to all potential job seekers. Another definition to set the table, because we're going to talk about this a lot today too, it's employee value proposition, also known as EVP. So an EVP is everything that your employees are going to receive as far as benefits, compensation, career development, training, and so forth in exchange for their time, services, and skills. So this is really all about that. It's a transaction, right? You're hiring somebody. It's usually a time for money exchange, right? We all clock in, clock out, know we're going to get. That doesn't cut it anymore. Your EVP has to go beyond that. It has to really espouse for these job seekers why work here, why work at our dealership and not the dealership down the street. And it's not just your competitors in retail automotive. As many of you know, we're talking your competition, more broadly speaking, all employers in your market. Everybody today is shopping jobs around. You need to be ready to differentiate your EVP from not just the dealer across the street, but the bank, the Chick-fil-A, the local health system. The list goes on and on. Best way to think about the EVP in your terms is the why buy here. I bet you and your dealership team have spent years carefully narrating and cultivating that why buy here, that consumer brand for your dealership and potentially your group. You have to think about your employment brand and your EVP in the same light. Now, I alluded to this earlier, but one of the advantages that you all have working in retail automotive is you're able to think of employment branding and recruitment in a really critical context. Where hierology sees this and has for a long time, it's akin to a sales and marketing funnel, plain and simple. Your EVP is no different than essentially your consumer brand and how you leverage that to sell a car or any of the number of other products and services that your dealership is known for. So first and foremost, you want to understand your audience. Again, something you all are fantastic at already doing. Second, you want to craft the right message to the right person in that audience. Also something that automotive dealers are exceptional at. And last but not least, you want to distribute your messages to your audience on the channels that are actually going to reach them. So for most of you on the phone call today, they probably have some kind of marketing background or have at least been adjacent to it in the dealership. This probably resonates. You can't just pray and spray. And that's what a lot of dealers have done, and businesses generally, posting jobs to all of the different job boards. What you have to do is get really, really in the nitty gritty and understanding, what do I want to say? When do I want to say it? To whom and where? Okay. So I think all of you appreciate that this is just marketing 101, and marketing and recruiting really do go hand in hand. Any best practice that you're using in marketing today at the dealership most likely can be translated successfully into something beneficial on the recruitment side of the house. So with that basic understanding of employment branding and employee value propositions and why they're important, I want to take a few minutes to talk about, in general, how you can think of crafting this employment brand. Many of you on the call today probably have something that you've already been leveraging, but you want to make it better. We have some advice for you. For those of you that don't even think you have an employment brand or an EVP, then let's help you get started. The first lesson, and it really is just be yourselves, be authentic, Job seekers can spot a faker from a mile away. They're more savvy than ever today, just like your shoppers. They come on that lot or in the showroom or just hit your online form, knowing more about that vehicle than they're interested in than maybe some of the people on your staff. That's just the reality. Job seekers today are no different. So the best way you can be authentic here is by loudly and proudly displaying your dealership's core values. What is your mission as a business? It's not just to sell cars. I know you all have those promises and commitments you make to your consumers. How can you highlight that and promote it to the job seeking world? Second, it's build from the inside out. Great employment branding always starts from within, but how you treat your current employees. People aren't shy about sharing those experiences they've had at a workplace on sites like Glassdoor and LinkedIn and throughout the rest of social media. So make sure you start practicing what you preach online. Your employees are always going to be your best recruiters, full stop. Third point is highlight what matters most. You've got to be sure to showcase what truly matters at the dealership. Reach the most engaged candidates by sharing things like the authenticity of your culture, history of the dealership, community involvement, opportunities for career advancement. Those are the things that really stand out to an applicant, and you can't assume they're just going to know those when they see your job description unless you have it really clearly articulated. Fourth point, you got to give them proof. Who doesn't live and die by data these days in our world? The data is often what people stick around on your organization, as well as third-party awards, recognition, anything that you can show this person that tells you that you're an employer of choice and you have the awards, the accolades, and so forth to back it up. That's going to put you in a competitive position. And then lastly, emphasizing DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusions. A lot of you have heard this acronym increasingly over the last several years. It has become truly table stakes. If you're not emphasizing that you have an inclusive culture, you're really putting yourself in a potentially difficult position. Times are changing, and so is the workforce. So you got to be sure that all potential candidates out there in your market can truly see themselves not only getting accepted into your ranks, but truly feeling like they're being heard, treated as equals, and then making a difference. I think it helps when you're crafting your employment brand and the EVP to take all of these things into consideration. And then you may want to craft a single headline. It could be as short as 2 sentences that form a mission statement on what you offer these employees. And this is going to help you narrow down the overall message. So I know that can sound like a lot with all these bullet points, but believe me, once you take some time to put pen to paper, you're going to start to get the hang of what you want to say, how you want to say it in a succinct way. So let's break down some examples here of what we've seen as far as employment branding successfully done at other dealerships. So now you have an idea of the how to define yourself, what your mission is for employees, and so forth. I want to look at these different examples so you can get a handle on, well, how could I do that potentially at my dealership? The first place to do this is with a career site. This is the hub of your employment branding messaging. This is the place that you always want an interested job seeker either to find you straight away when they start their job search, or maybe they see you on a job board like Indeed. You want them to come back to your career site. These are like those just so coveted first-party leads that come on a dealership's website to set up time to see a car, get a quote, and so forth. So the first thing to talk about here is some data through Hireology's recent research. Earlier this year, we conducted our annual applicant study. This is where we interviewed hundreds and hundreds of automotive industry job seekers to find out, hey, what went on in your recent job search? What did you like? What didn't you like? And so forth. We asked them all kinds of questions. And one of the questions we asked was for them to select all of the channels they used in their most recent job search. And notably, we found that 38%, okay, that's a big number, 38% are visiting an employer's website directly when researching jobs. So this means you've got a really good opportunity to really persuade nearly 40% of job seekers, 2 out of every 5 guys, by crafting the right messaging and putting it front and center on your dealership's webpage. Gone are the days where people are just starting and only finishing their job search on the job boards. They want to hear from you on your website. Also, guess what? No different than our consumers. We also asked job seekers in this study to specifically know where they go when looking to learn more about the culture of an employer that they're considering working for. The top answer here was, not surprisingly, the company website. It even ranked higher than places like third-party reviewed site Glassdoor. So again, all of this data indicates to us that you have a really good opportunity to win over job seekers by sharing the right messages on your career site. So you're probably asking yourself, well, Mike, I don't do much on our website. I don't know where to start. That's not my forte. That's okay. Any of the website vendors you work with today and other services can help you get started with at least something really simple. And here are a few best practices for you to get going with building that career site, or maybe building upon what you have in action today. First, sell your dealership with an eye-catching headline. Try to make something, succinct, above the fold, so I can see it right when I land on that web page. That's going to, grab my attention. And that could be a whole laundry list of different things. Whatever fits your dealership best will work. Lead with what's in it for the employees. This is what a lot of you have heard is called the WIFM. Highlight the benefits of working at the store. Everything that matters most to employees rather than what matters most to you. So today, that really boils down to culture, career growth, and flexibility and scheduling. If you offer those things, lead with it. Yes, many people today looking for jobs care about how much money they make, but increasingly, that's becoming less and less significant in the overall calculus of making a job move. We strongly recommend you include employee testimonials. Don't make job seekers search for this way down at the bottom of the page or having to click multiple times. Like I said a few slides ago, your employees are your best recruiters. Explain through their eyes, in their words, what it means to work at your dealership, why they love working here. Get creative. You don't have to worry about flashy production value. Just show these employees being themselves and telling their story of why they love working at your store. And that's gonna serve you very well. Highlighting core values and company history. I think this is table stakes. Of course, if you've ever won an award about your company's culture, your mission, put that front and center. That's going to get people excited. I'm going to reiterate again here, the emphasis on D&I efforts. This shows today's job seeker that you care about them as an individual, and that you're actively trying to create an environment where people have equal opportunities to be heard, feel heard, and be seen. And I know sometimes we say those words, we pay lip service to them, but it really does matter. And if you can put pen to paper on that on your career site, you're going to attract the right person. Otherwise, if they didn't see it and they were qualified, they may move on. And the last but not least, always have open roles. Even if you're not actively searching for, let's say, a new salesperson or a service advisor, at least giving an applicant the opportunity to submit their information, and then you can hang on to it for whenever you need that person, potentially on a rainy day. We've all been in a position where we didn't think we needed someone for X role, and then what you know what, life happens. So do everything you can to keep building a talent bench, even on those days or parts of the year where you don't think you're going to ever need somebody again in that seat, because we all know it ends up happening sooner rather than later. I want to drill a little deeper into the importance of listing benefits. And I'm going to show you some additional data here. In the same survey we conducted with those 500 automotive job seekers, we also asked the respondents to tell us what would motivate them to take a lower paying job offer if presented with two options in a similar pay range. And the top answers were pretty revealing. They included career growth, fulfilling and enjoyable work, good culture, and scheduling flexibility. So if you look at this graph on the right, I think the data is really telling, and it comes to helping you think through what to highlight on your career site. This is what job seekers want to see. Everyone's paying roughly the same wages. The jobs are all going to be relatively similar from one dealership to the next, but the rubber meets the road with what are you offering in these key categories that, again, are applicable most to today's job seeker. And as you know, with dealing with your shoppers, most of these job seekers are in the millennial or Gen Z age bracket. So you have to, where we're meeting consumers where they are, to get them into the store, to take a look at a new vehicle, or get them to come service their vehicle in our shop, we have to start meeting today's job seeker where they are. And that starts with explaining why you offer the things that interest them most in a career. So with a lot of that data and the general context out of the way, let's look at some real live examples, because I know this is what always gets the most people excited, to see other dealers taking some of these best practices that Hireology espouses, and they're putting them into practice. The first dealer group I want to take a look at is Lou Fuse, a Hireology customer down in St. Louis that many of you on the phone might be even familiar with. Lou Fuse does a fantastic job of stating their overarching employment brand message straight away with this headline: don't just work at a job, work on your career. So it's attention grabbing, it's big, it's bold, it's nothing groundbreaking, but it's enough to get me interested and continue on. Further down on the page, they note that many of their team members have often been at the business for more than 20 years, which I think is a great proof point. Really sets out to, hey, we said this and we can back it up with this data point of how long people have been here. We all know, especially in retail automotive, it's pretty rare that you have a number of employees that stick around for 20 years. No one's going to stick around a company or a dealership that they don't like for 2 decades. That's for sure. If we dig a little bit deeper below the fold with Lou Fuse's site, I think they do a really phenomenal job of explaining professional career development opportunities with these super easy to read and follow career pathing and visuals. You can click through each department, see all the different roles and pathways that are available to you. Because keep in mind, most of these job seekers today are young enough that they may not know anything about a car dealership. Some of them may not even have been to a car dealership ever before in their life. These are people that grew up in the era of Uber, right? So just keep in mind who your audience is, and we have to paint the picture for them of not only why we want you to work here today for this job, but here's how we're going to help you over the next 2, 3, 4 years and even beyond. This is that visualization that the best salespeople on your floor always do to close the lead, helping that customer, visualizing them behind the seat of that name your vehicle. It's no different here. We don't have a vehicle, though, for that person to sit behind and visualize owning and driving around. So this is where you have to really showcase that. It's on the career page. Here's another example. Del Grande Dealer Group, a phenomenal group based in the Bay Area, also happens to be a Hireology customer. I really like their simple but effective headline, Careers for Everyone. Sends a great message. Touches on the DEI message that we talked about earlier, right? It lets people know that we've got a variety of opportunities open for people with all kinds of backgrounds and experience. And are you one of them? It's inviting that applicant to look further and dig deeper into the EVP. And as you'll see in a minute, they touch on all those key benefits that are important to their target audience further down on the page, like career growth, fulfilling work, competitive compensation, and so forth. This page, in my opinion, really nails it. When you dig a little bit deeper, it keeps getting better. We talked about employee testimonials, being authentic. They do a fantastic job here of just hearing it. Don't take our word for it as the dealership. Take the word of our employees that are happy. What's really encouraging here is they have women, people of color, folks you may not have expected to see in a service advisor seat or a product specialist seat. Keep in mind when you're trying to showcase that your dealership is diverse, we accept people of all different backgrounds. Your staff needs to be a reflection of the market you serve. And that's always, I think, one of the most impactful things when I talk to a dealer of, Mike, we just don't know who to talk to and how to target them. Well, the reality is you're already doing that. If you just look around your showroom and your customer service waiting area, the lobby, you already have these people coming into your business. Again, you just have to craft the message that you were successful getting that customer and make it into an employment context. And then you're going to already be the majority of the way there. And then just a few more examples to round us out here. This one from the top is from Sheehy Auto Group in the DC market. And they did a really terrific job going deep and leveraging their company history. It highlights all the things that so many job seekers want today. Work for a successful family-owned business that's involved in their community, is clearly in touch with their roots and their core values. Spoiler alert, most job seekers today, especially Gen Z, these are folks under the age of around 26, 27, they are almost always more interested in working for a family-owned and operated business than a massive corporate conglomerate like Amazon. Seems counterintuitive because all these young folks, myself included, we've grown up and come of age with all these amazing tools, Apple, frictionless world from Amazon and Google and so forth. But at the end of the day, most folks want to work for a company who they know the person whose name is on the door, and they care about that name being on the door, and they care about the people they serve and the people that they employ. So you'll see another example from our friends at Lou Fuse on the other side here that talks about their company values. Just another great way to highlight what are the top benefits that we offer job seekers. And we're not going to put this buried in a job description. We're going to highlight it front and center right on our career page. Speaking of job descriptions, that's where we're going next to talk about arguably the second most important channel where employment branding is going to really play a pivotal role. And I have more to come on why that is, because sometimes you may not think a job description is all that important, but it really, really does make a big difference. So let's use some data to orient ourselves as to why job descriptions are a key part of your employment branding initiative. Indeed is actually the top channel used most often by auto industry job seekers through their search. And your job ads or job descriptions are the one chance you have at making an impression on people searching via this channel. So even though we just talked about why your career site is so critical, the reality is, just like car shoppers, a majority of them begin their initial search on a job listing site, no different than a car listing site like Cars or Car Gurus. So think of your job description as essentially your VDP. This is the one shot we have, is this person's really beginning their search to convert them from a passive job seeker into a real applicant. So more to come on that. But as you can see here, overwhelming majority of folks starting on Indeed, we have to be there, but we have to be smart about what we're saying on there. So what makes your job description effective? Well, just like that VDP analogy, every detail matters. It's got to sell the job seeker so they click and convert into an applicant and then ultimately a candidate and a hired individual. So typically what we recommend is you follow a structured formula like what I've got here up on the screen. Do not start with just the same old responsibilities, duties. Here are 5 bullet points. Start with what makes your company unique, as well as a quick summary of the job for SEO purposes, and then dive right into your benefits. What's in it for me? Why would I work here? So highlighting all those things we just touched on, your flexibility in scheduling, the authentic culture, career path available, all those good things you want to lead with. Ask yourself this: after you write this job description, do you feel excited to work at this company? Do you feel motivated to go out and pursue this job? The job description has to evoke that excitement, just like seeing an ad for your vehicle on a web ad or on a commercial evokes that same emotional reaction from a consumer. You want to evoke that from a job seeker, and it can be done. Here's some additional job description best practices to keep in mind. This one's really a no-brainer, and it's keep it short, keep it clear. Today's job seeker, like customers and shoppers, have a short attention span. That's just the reality. It might be tempting to use auto industry jargon, acronyms, terminology, and the like, especially if you're looking for an experienced person. But to job seeker, all this stuff really means nothing, and it's kind of fluff. It's also important anything that might come across as too gimmicky, like putting something all caps, competitive salary, bonus on signing. Putting those in the job title may make it seem like these job seekers, they might think it's a scam. And the data shows that they tend to deprioritize these jobs in the listings when they feel like it's not professional enough looking. Another best practice, again, this one should probably be common sense: use bullet points and subheaders to break up the text. You got to make it really easy for this job seeker to scan it. Most people are going to be looking at this on their phone, so they're not going to be sitting down on a laptop or a desktop and have the luxury of reading through every single word. So make it simple for their eyes to be drawn to these important parts like the benefits, the culture, the why work here early, and laser in on that. And then lastly, catching the eye of the top candidates. We've talked about this a number of times, how important it is on your website. It's important to do this in a job description too. So something catchy, a headline, quick summary of the role, quick summary of the organization, the dealership history, anything that's going to help you stand out is sort of that, think of it like a log line to a movie. Gets me excited when I see that billboard. Wow, I really can't wait till that movie comes out, or I can see that trailer. That's how you have to be thinking about the job description, because like that movie trailer, like that movie billboard, this is an advertisement at the end of the day. So back to our friends over at Loop Fuse for another example here of how to do a really good job on a job description. I like the eye-catching headline that they added here. Do you like to make people smile? If so, keep reading. And then they followed up with a quick summary of the company and the role, and then immediately follow that up with benefits. Note, so you're already halfway into this job description. There's really nothing about the responsibilities, the day-to-day job duties. And that was intentional. They're using all that valuable real estate upfront in this advertisement to sell the job and sell Lou Fu's Automotive Group. Everything after that is somewhat secondary. It may seem counterintuitive, but this is how you recruit in today's market. And then lastly, just from a structural standpoint, they've broken up everything by bullet points and subheaders like we discussed. So overall, this content, it's eye-catching. It's getting me the why work here, what's in it for me up front, following with everything else that you still need to know about the position. And additionally, they're doing it in a very digestible, readable format so that if I'm at a traffic light looking at this briefly on my phone, this one's going to stand out among the rest, guaranteed. Digging in further, some more job description examples. Up top here on the screen, you'll see some language that I like around benefits. This one says, quote, "Our programs are designed to improve your life at work and at home." Now that's getting at the whole notion of scheduling flexibility and this idea of work-life balance. You know, I know that's a buzzword term. People don't like to really hear that much, especially in our industry, because you do have to work hard. But the reality is, guys, work-life balance is all about letting a job candidate know, hey, we're flexible. We're willing to meet you on your terms where you are if you're the right fit for this job. No different than what we do with our customers. We roll out the red carpet for them to the degree it makes sense. And that's what we have to show when we're recruiting the next best employee. So if you look at this other job, Lou Fu's example, the benefits are listed really comprehensively. And I wanted to touch on these because some of these are left out of job descriptions, and that's a huge oversight. Pension benefits, uniforms, training, everything outside of your hourly wage. When in doubt, put it in here. That's the message. You don't want to leave any doubt in this candidate's head that this job is not only covering with a paycheck, which I know it does, but it has all these other things. If potentially the other jobs I may be considering, especially in the gig economy, which I know a lot of you get applicants from today, those jobs don't offer these kind of benefits. So again, when in doubt, make sure you're over-indexing on all of these things that are going to make sure this applicant knows, wow, this place is not only going to take care of me with a paycheck, but they're here for me to support me in my career and my personal life in a number of other ways. And then lastly, one other job description example. This is going back to the Del Grande group that we looked at once before. I like how they've emphasized their awards. Remember, we touched on if you have any awards or accolades in the employment arena, make sure those are front and center. They're mentioning they're the largest family-owned group in the Bay Area. So that hits on the culture and how they're different from, say, working at a big faceless tech corporation or some other place like an Amazon warehouse. You know, when you're going to work with this place, they care about the name on the door, and therefore they're going to care about you. And they also actually list out their core values in the job description if you look closely. I think it's a great move. They have the "Be Happy" slogan at the bottom, which shows that they're really they've thought out their employee experience. And I guarantee you, if you work at Del Grande Dealer Group, that "Be Happy" slogan is probably all over the inside of the dealership, both for customers and employees alike to see and be reminded of. And this is why they continue to work there and be a top performing group in that Bay Area market. And then the last section I want to touch on today is all about social media. Everybody loves the good old social media sites. This is another channel where you really have a good opportunity to sell your branding as an employer. So let's look at the data on social media. You'll see here on the right that actually the second most commonly used source for finding jobs are the social media websites, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so on. So you've got a really good opportunity here to sway roughly 43% of job seekers just by ensuring that your employment brand, your employment value proposition, and open roles are being promulgated there. For most of you, this is just secondhand with how you're engaging with customers today. Social media is a critical part of the meet our customers where they are. Do they want to have an interaction with your sales rep exclusively through Facebook? Sure, let's do it. If they want to engage with you through some other means, because maybe they saw your Instagram ad and that's how you get them in the store, you know, this is how you all become so flexible over the years. And these same folks that you're engaging with on social media is your customers or prospects. Guess what? They're job seekers too. So don't underestimate social media. as a means to get people in the know on who you are as an employer of choice and why work for you. Some best practices to be mindful of. First, use it as a channel to distribute your career site content. So anything you share and you place and publish on your career site can also be distributed on social media for maximal reach. Employee testimonials, of course, like we talked about a number of times here, highlighting all those unique benefits of working at your dealership. And then additionally, showcasing any unique, authentic parts of your culture, awards you've won, and so forth. You should also use social media as another means for sharing open roles and promoting job fairs. If you're involved with a local trade school, tech school, for example, put that out there. You can't expect people to know that you're involved with those great things that may resonate with them. And additionally, you're posting your jobs to the job sites. Social media is just one other way for somebody to see it that may not have been actually looking for a job, but they were on Facebook and they saw your dealership's page and also saw next to a post about an upcoming holiday sale that you're looking for XYZ position. So you just never know. You have to cast a diverse, wide net to reach these folks, just like you're doing with your shoppers today. So I love giving examples. We're going to give you some more here on social media. You'll see that both of these examples here, they list the type of roles they're looking to hire and clearly explain how interested job seekers can reach them. For example, in this instance, at upcoming job career fairs. They're using bold design and messaging to drum up excitement for the roles and the career fairs. So this is something that, it's not that hard to do to create an in-house ad to talk about being at a job fair, or simply just use this Facebook or Instagram post, whatever it is, to route people right back to your career site. These are some really good examples on social of dealers demonstrating and highlighting the awesome parts about their culture and employee happiness. In the Sheehy post, you can see they're celebrating someone who's been at the company for 25 years. So it shows these interested job seekers, one, wow, this person has been here for 25 years. They must really like it. And two, it shows that Sheehy cares enough to recognize that employee. You can't underestimate how much today a job seeker puts stock in employers that A, have great retention, and B, are willing to go above and beyond and recognize those folks that have been with them. And who doesn't like seeing their picture up on a social media post, or maybe it's even in the dealership as employee of the month. Some of that stuff, I think we've kind of gotten lost our way over the years. People like to feel that their work's being recognized. And over on the left of the screen in the Del Grande Group example, they highlight National Auto Service Professionals Day with a testimonial from one of their team members explaining why he loves working for them, which again shows the value of that employee and the fact that Del Grande values them enough to put them on their Facebook page. And think of this as a show, don't tell approach. Yes, we have a great culture here, but don't take our word for it. Hear from our colleague, Sean here himself. And a couple of final examples to round us out before we wrap up today. Del Grande Group, these guys have nailed it on social to promote their EVP. They're emphasizing third-party awards, which is another proof point of the employee experience. I really like what some of these other groups have done here, like Bergstrom on the right, featuring an employee who just created a training session. It may seem insignificant in the grand scheme of things, but twofold purpose here. One, shows the job seeker that they care about their employees and they want to recognize them. And two, it's also showing career growth, room for professional development. As a business, we're here to help you advance along your career, whether it's with us or maybe you use that to move on to another place one day. And then lastly, you'll see at the bottom of the screen, Blue Compass RV, really clearly and simply listing out why they're a great place to work. They just get right to the point, listing their benefits like competitive pay, mentorship, training certifications, and lastly, career growth. So I hope these examples help you just start to see that you don't have to reinvent the wheel here or boil the ocean. All you need to do is take a lot of the great things that you're probably already doing across your dealership and across the group and put pen to paper, put it front and center, just be authentic, be genuine. Doesn't need to be a fancy production value. Job seekers just want to see that you're doing the right things that matter most to them in 2023. And so that brings us to the end of the webinar, everybody. To summarize a lot of the great things that we covered today, first, we all know this. Retail automotive, we're facing a massive shortage of workers, and it's only going to get worse, especially in our fixed operations department. Second, cultivating a great employment brand. It's really the best way to stand out in a crowded market. And we went through a number of ways and best practices for you to get started on doing that. Third, when crafting these messages and building out your branding, always lead with the what's in it for me, the with them. Why should this person work for you rather than the dealership down the street, the Walmart down the street, the bank down the street, and so forth. And then lastly, make sure you're distributing that really compelling message you've crafted across numerous channels, your career site, the job boards, and social media, using all these best practices to maximize your output. So with that, we have plenty of time here left for any questions. I've got a couple of my colleagues here ready to help me field them. So if you do have questions, please put them into the chat and I'm happy to answer them here. A couple of other notes before we wrap up. First, Hireology did just publish a brand new guide featuring all of this great information we covered today and a whole lot more. So you will be able to find a link to that guide in the chat, or you'll be able to access it on our website at any time. So happy to open it up to questions.
Yes, it looks like we have a question regarding a copy of this presentation. We will be sending out the deck and the recording to you as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop a link to our latest guide that Mike was just talking about right here.
Perfect. Thanks, Katie. We'll give it just another couple seconds here if anyone has questions. If not, all of you that were here today, thank you so much for, again, being a participant in another valuable Hireology webinar. Look forward to catching you on down the line. If you do have any questions that come up later, don't ever hesitate to reach out. You can find us at hireology.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, other social channels. We'd love to hear from you.